Hello guys and girls, and welcome to part 2 of our text structure introduction lesson. Yesterday we started with part 1. We started talking about text structure and we went over the first 3 that you guys are going to have to know. Today we're picking right back up where we left off yesterday, and we're going to talk about the last 2 text structures that you all need to know throughout this unit. But before we get started, let's review our learning targets. Number 1, I can analyze a text. That means you can break it down to determine the text structure used by the author. In other words, if we give you a passage, you should be able to read it and tell us what text structure is being used. Our second learning target says I can recognize how a particular paragraph, sentence, chapter, or section contributes to the text and its overall meaning. So you should be able to take any part of the text and tell us why it's important, but also how it lets you know what the text structure of the passage is. Before we get into the 2 text structures that we're going to go over today, let's review a little bit about what we talked about yesterday. Remember, text structure just means how the author has organized their text. Yesterday we talked about the first 3. The first one was sequence. Remember, if a text is using sequence, it's going to be telling you what should happen first, second, and third. For example, yesterday we talked about the steps to follow to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, so that would be sequence. Or it could also be in order of time, so you might have some specific dates. And we talked about how you really could see this a lot in your social studies class. The second text structure that we talked about yesterday was description. Remember, in description, you're going to have an item, a person, a place, or a thing that's going to be introduced in the text, and then the rest of the text is going to be describing that item. Yesterday, we talked about the loggerhead sea turtle. We're actually going to talk about sea turtles some more in a little bit today, but in the description text structure, it told us we were going to talk about the loggerhead, and then it gave us lots of different facts about them. What they look like, what they eat, where they live. It described the loggerhead turtle, so that's how we know the text structure was description. The last text structure that we talked about yesterday is compare and contrast, and I feel like this is one you guys probably are pretty familiar with. Remember, if the text structure is comparing and contrasting, it's going to tell us how 2 or more things are the same and how they're different. Today, we're going to talk about the last 2, which are cause and effect and problem and solution. And just like yesterday, you have a note-taking sheet on your Google Classroom page. So let me get to that. If you do not already have this note-taking sheet open on your computer, you need to pause this video now and go open it, because just like yesterday, we're going to be filling in some things, highlighting some things, and you will be responsible for turning in your notes at the end of this lesson. So if you do not have your note-taking sheet open, go ahead, go to Google Classroom now and get that open. Alright, as you can see up at the top, we are doing text structure part 2 today. Like I said, we're going to be talking about cause and effect, and also problem and solution. So let's dive in and get started. Cause and effect is used to show how the facts, events, or concepts result due to other facts, events, or concepts. That just means we're talking about how one thing leads to something else. Words that signal this type of text structure are because, since, therefore, if then, as a result of, thus, and hence. So remember, if you see those words in the passage, it might be a good clue that it is the cause and effect text structure. I do want us to highlight those keywords just like we did yesterday. So you're going to take your mouse and drag over that sentence. And remember, the highlighting tool is up here at the top, kind of looks like a paintbrush. And like I said yesterday, you guys can use any color that you want to highlight, but I'm going to use yellow. So go ahead and make sure you go highlight those keywords now. A graphic organizer may be used to represent the relationships between the causes and the effects. So let's look at our graphic organizer here. On this side we have the cause, and the cause is rain, and the effects could be possibly a rainbow, This looks like some flooding, or the rain could help different flowers grow. So remember, cause and effect, we're telling how one thing leads to something else. The rain can lead to a rainbow, to flooding, or to growing flowers. Now, yesterday we were reading about turtles, and we are going to continue to read about them today. So let's look at this example passage of cause and effect. See if you can figure out what the cause is and then what the effect is from this passage. Natural predators such as snakes, seagulls, and raccoons are considered threats to the sea turtles, but human beings are considered to pose the greatest threat to the sea turtles. People threaten the turtles if they disturb the nesting sites or harm the sea turtles at sea. Because of these dangers, the loggerhead sea turtle is considered as threatened. Okay, so remember, this is the graphic organizer that our picture gives us an example of. We're actually going to use one very similar to chart out some of the things that it told us in the passage. Remember, we're talking about cause and effect, so how things lead to something else. The effect is that the loggerhead turtle is threatened. If you go back up here to the passage, it actually tells us that right there in the very last sentence. So we're trying to figure out what's the cause that leads to the effect of the loggerhead being threatened. I have two already filled in for you. The first one is people disturbing their nesting sites. Another cause that leads to the loggerhead turtle being threatened is they are harmed at sea. But we're going to try to find one more thing that leads to the loggerhead turtle being threatened. So if we go back up here to the passage, if we look, let's see here. We have disturbed nesting sites, harmed at sea. If we go back to the very first sentence, it tells us another thing that threatens the loggerhead turtles is natural predators. So things like snakes and seagulls and raccoons can also threaten the loggerhead sea turtle. So we're going to fill in natural predators on our graphic organizer. Remember, to edit this, you have to do a double click. So we're going to do a tap tap on the picture. When we do that, you can then click on where it says type your answer here. We can erase that, and we are going to fill in natural predators. Once you've done that, you can hit save and close, and then your graphic organizer will be complete. So make sure you go ahead and pause this video and go fill in your own graphic organizer. The last text structure that we're talking about is problem and solution. So let's take a look at our notes up at the top. Problem and solution is used to present a problem and the possible solutions to the problem. So what's the problem, and then how can we fix the problem? Words that signal this type of text structure are the question is, the problem is, therefore, and if then. Now, we talked about this yesterday. You have to be careful because different text structures have some of the same keywords. For example, with problem and solution, you could have if then, but that was also a keyword in our previous text structure of cause and effect. So just be careful when you're looking for those keywords. We are going to highlight the keywords, so I'm going to use my paintbrush up at the top, use my highlighting tool, so you need to make sure that you go to your notes and highlight that part now. And then it tells us a graphic organizer may be used to represent the problem and its possible solutions. So we do have a graphic organizer here. On the left we have the problem, and on the right we have the solution. The problem is you spill milk. The solution is you get some paper towels and you clean it up. Let's look at our example text. See if you can figure out what the problem is and then what the solution might be. The loggerhead sea turtle is threatened. That sounds like a problem to me. Let's see if it tells us some ways that we can fix that. Conservationists are attempting to help the survival rate of the loggerhead turtles. Their solution, ding ding ding, keyword, is to educate the public about the nesting habits of the sea turtles and help pass gill netting regulations for fishermen. Let's look at our graphic organizer that we're going to be filling in. Like it told us in the very first sentence, the loggerhead sea turtle is threatened. There's our problem. Now, how are we trying to fix that problem? One way is conservationists are trying to pass gill netting regulations. And then another solution they had was right here. Educate the public about the nesting habits of the sea turtles. So we're going to fill in solution 2, educate the public, with a tap tap. We're going to erase where it says type your answer here. And we are going to fill in educate the public. Save and close. If you have not filled in your graphic organizer on your notes, please go to your notes now and do that. All right, guys and girls, so we have talked about all of the different text structures. Today we went over cause and effect and problem and solution. You do need to make sure that you turn in your notes on Google Classroom so that your teacher has proof that you did do your assignment for today. But like I talked about yesterday, you may want to make your own copy of this or print it out or take a screenshot, because these notes could really help you throughout the rest of the unit. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.